Hey there, gang. So here's the thing. I am working on my pull list for May, all of the comics that I want my local shop to order in for me. And maybe it's because of the recent price hikes, but right now, after my first pass through the catalogs, I am way over budget. Like way over budget. I need to cut about 15 books from my pull list. So I am actively requesting your help. In this video, I will go over my pull list. I'll tell you everything that's on my first draft, and I'm asking you to kind of play comic book survivor. You know, which books would you vote off the island? Which ones do you think should get the boot? So, yeah, please help me out. And you know, if you like comic books, and maybe more correctly, if you like snarking on the comic books you don't like, well, stick around. We're going to have some fun. Hey there, Bobby. Welcome to Shanghai. My name is Duke. And so, yeah, this is a pull list episode, but it's a little different. I'm going over everything that I have so far picked out for May, the books arriving at my local comic book store in May, and way over budget, like $50 over budget. And, you know, I have a line of credit at the First National Spouse that... that amounts to about $25, $30 a week, about $120 a month after the discount I get at my local store, and after, you know, of course, state sales tax on those books. But $50. Yeah, I could go over by, you know, $5, maybe $10, and you know, get a pass, but $50 over budget. That brings out die Spouszenführer. Nine. There will be no more collecting of the comic books ever again. Nine. So, in order to keep peace in the household, I'm asking for your help. So, like I said in the teaser, I figure I need to cut about 15 books off of this pull list in order to get under budget, so that I'm at, you know, again, after discount, after sales tax, I'm at about, you know, $120 for the month. So I'm going to go over, you know, everything that I have here on my first draft of my May pull list, and I'm going to ask you to comment down below. So please do like, share, subscribe, all of those things, those groovy things that you would normally do, but please do comment, in particular on this video. Let me know which books you would cut. Give me your advice. Which ones, again, if this were Comic Book Survivor, which ones would you give the boot to? Which one would you vote off the island? I need your help, because I've got to cut, like I said, about 15 books. Otherwise, there will be just no peace at Harrington Hall. All right, well, let's start where I always do when I start my pull list, and that is with DC Comics. So, DC in May will be publishing 44 books. I am pre-ordering 12 of those, or at least that's what's on my list right now, so 27.3% of the DC line. And keep in mind throughout this list, when I talk about a certain percentage of, you know, a company's line, I'm talking just the comic books. I know that, you know, a lot of the companies are putting out new and, you know, collected trade paperbacks, but I don't collect trade paperbacks. I collect comic books. So that's the number that I am talking about. Of course, the 12 books that I'm getting, the retail value on that is $57.88, or 23.3% of my pull list. So, what is on the pull list for DC books? Well, coming out May 4th, we will have Batman number 108, and then Crime Syndicate number 3, Green Lantern number 2. I don't know why this cover says number 1. That's the one that was on the solicitation page, but it's number 2. And then Sensational Wonder Woman number 3. And the green text here indicates for you, a little helpful hint, that that's a new add to my pull list. Those other ones before this are all regular ongoing purchases, but this is a book that I have added largely because of Colleen Doran. I'm a big fan of Colleen Doran, so I did not get issue 1 or issue 2 of this series, but I've got 3 on my pull list really just because of her. And that's a really nice cover, by the way. Of course, the red dot here is my little clue to you that that's also a book that's on the chopping block. You know, when I talk about needing to cut 15 books, well, that's one that's probably going to be one of the first ones cut, unless you advise differently. Just because, you know, I don't have 1 and 2, so how badly do I need 3? Do I love Colleen that much? Well, I do, but maybe in this instance this month, that's something I'll have to live without, but I'll let you help me to decide that. And then also out on May 4th is Stargirl Spring Break Special #1. That's a $6 book. I mean, it's a extra plus-sized book, but I was a big fan of the original Stargirl series by Jeff Johns and Lee Moder. Lee Moder's not back for this, but it does have Jeff Johns on the script. I'm also a big fan of the CW TV show. My trepidation here is I'm not sure to what degree this comic is going to follow the TV show continuity and to what degree it's going to be stuck in the comic books, because we can see here from these stars that this is going to include the 7 Soldiers of Victory, and it's got Green Arrow in that lineup. So I don't know, with this whole new Omniverse, Linearverse thing, where are we in all of that? Are we going to get an actual story here, or is this going to be one of those things that tries to explain the previous continuity to us? I don't know. So for that reason, this could be on the chopping block. Then coming up on May 11th from DC, got the Batman Scooby-Doo Mysteries #2, Batman Urban Legends #3, and that's an $8 book, but I'm hopeful. Challenge of the Super Sons #2, Joker #3, and this is a book that I don't have a dot next to this one indicating it could be cut, but I'm probably going to cut this book in June when it goes to $5.99 for the same package, same number of pages. This and Batman I'm probably going to cut in June, so maybe I should just go ahead and cut those now. What do you think? And then the other thing is Superman 31, the other thing out on May 11th, and that's hanging onto my pull list by a thread. I really did not like the House of L story by Philip Kennedy Johnson, and so I'm not sure his Superman is going to be for me. Then from DC out on, what is the date? There it is. Sorry, got a little behind there. May 18th, Wonder Girl #1, and that is the Joelle Jones Yarrow Floor Wonder Girl. I really enjoyed the Future State Wonder Woman book by Joelle Jones, so this is something that you're probably not going to be able to convince me to cut this one from my list. Oh, and there it is. Let's go ahead and take a look at it, as long as I'm going to yak about it. As I always say, come for the comics, stay for the high quality content. The production values. I'm just learning Keynote. Give me a break. May 25th, Action Comics. So, like Superman, this could get cut. Nice cover, but that could get cut. And then I guess we might as well talk about some of the DC books that are new in May that I chose not to put on my pull list. And there is the DC Asian Heroes book, which, Asian Heroes are great, but I'm not sure I need was this like a $10 book? $8 book? I forget what the price was, but I don't need to pay that much just to celebrate the Asianness of all these heroes. Just present the heroes, tell a good story, and that's all I need. The Future State Gotham book is, about the magistrate, and I thought that was kind of the lamest part of the Future State Batman book, so I'm really not in for that as an ongoing series. Then we've got a Justice League series by Chip Zdarsky, and I like Chip Zdarsky, but, do I need another Justice League book? I'm not even ordering the regular one. I know that's by Brian Michael Bendis, so I probably wouldn't anyway, but I don't know. I just felt maybe not. And then we got Legends of the Dark Knight #1 coming out, and this is a book. I'm not going to put it on my pull list, probably because I will be on and off this book for as long as it lasts, depending on the story arc, depending on the creator. So this is something that I'm going to check out on the stands, and just be hopeful that, my shop orders enough shelf copies that there's always one there by the time I get to the store to take a look at. But this is something I want to look at before I buy. I'm not going to add this directly to my pull list. There's also the Milestone Return book, and again, this is another big money book for. I don't know if I want to spend as much money as this book is just to revisit a universe that, I was pretty well invested in the past. I understand they're going to change some of it, but also I've got a lot of those Milestone books that I haven't read yet. So, I could always go back and read those. I don't know if I can get invested in a whole new universe. If they had one or two milestone books at a regular price coming out, that would be maybe different. And then the other thing is this Mr. Miracle book. And I've never been a big fan of Mr. Miracle, apart from the Marshall Rogers, Steve Englehart run in the 70s, which wasn't a very long run, come to think of it. I've never been that hip on Mr. Miracle. And this is like the third iteration of the character. So, I don't know. That's not for me. So, anyway, that's what's on my DC list. And now we will turn to good old Marvel. So Marvel is eclipsing everybody with 63 books out in May. I'm only getting 8, or 12.7% of their line. $32.92 is the retail value, or 13.3% of my pull list. So May 5th, we have Iron Fist, Heart of the Dragon, number 5. There it is right there. And then Strange Academy, number 10. A couple of ongoing purchases for me. And then out on May 12th is Heroes Return, Hyperion, and the Imperial Guard. This is the only Heroes Return book I'm getting. I am checked out on these events. They're too big, they're too unwieldy, they're too costly. You never get the full story if you try and read just the regular miniseries. There's too much going on with all the other stuff. I need to break Marvel and DC of this eventitis that they have. The only way to do that is to just not buy into these events anymore. This one book, though, I am getting just because I'm a big Legion of Superheroes fan, and this is effectively Marvel's version of Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes with Hyperion and the Imperial Guard. And as a Legion collector, this has an extra tie-in. I don't know if you know or not, but the Imperial Guard, co-created by Dave Cockrum, all of these characters are kind of each one a pastiche of a different Legion member, and they mostly wear costumes that he had created for the Legion. He was in the process of updating all the Legion costumes when he got upset over not being able to get a double-page splashback that he wanted. Back then, DC didn't return the original art. He asked for it back and was told no, so in a peak, he quit and went over to Marvel and helped co-create the all-new, all-different X-Men. And some of the characters he brought over, such as Nightcrawler and Storm, were actually characters he was working on to introduce into the Legion. Storm was actually an amalgam of a couple of different characters. But anyway, the Imperial Guard here all has costumes that Cockrum was working on to introduce as new Legion costumes. So anyway, for me, that's reason enough to buy this book. May 19th is Black Knight, Curse of the Ebony Blade, number 3, and also Daredevil, number 30. And then out on May 26th, there is The Marvels, number 2, which is Kurt Busiek's retelling of the Marvel timeline, which is not normally something I would be in for, but I'm looking forward to this having kind of an Astro City vibe to it, and so I'm hopeful that this isn't going to be just another continuity-laden, tell me where all the pieces fit instead of just telling me the story. And then these next two are add-ons. Reptile number 1. I don't know who this character is. I don't know where he comes from. I don't know what he's all about. When I read the solicitation, I get a little fear that this might be kind of a woke thing. But the reason I put this on the pull list is just this cover right here. This just looked like so much fun that I couldn't resist it. It just looked like this was going to be a good time. So if you know different, you know anything about this character or the creators involved, if you need to throw up a red flag, let me know. And then Shang-Chi. I have Shang-Chi number 1 on my pull list. I run hot and cold on Shang-Chi. I was a fan of the old Master of Kung Fu series, but more recently, it's kind of like, okay, I don't know. So this is on my initial pass at the pull list. So talking about the Marvels that I pointedly did not put on the pull list, we've already talked about the Heroes Reborn event. Even though I'm a fan of Jason Aaron, even though I'm a big fan of the Squadron Supreme, I just couldn't do it. I can't buy into events anymore. Fantastic Four life story, as I spoke about with some of these other books, this feels like it's going to be just telling me the continuity, telling me the new continuity, where everything fits, and it's going to try and fit in everything rather than just trying to tell me a story. And I'm all done with that. I'm all done with trying to puzzle out, which books I read previously count and which ones don't now, The Immortal Hulk, Time of Monsters, this thing, I don't know. The Immortal Hulk, this is a spin-off of that. The Immortal Hulk has gotten a lot of praise in the fan press and the YouTube comic book community, but I tried to get into it, and maybe I just came in too late. I couldn't make heads and tails out of the thing. It feels like one of those things you really needed to be in on at the beginning, so I guess I don't need to be in on this new ancillary series. X-Corp, I'm checked out on X-Men. That whole universe is just too confusing and too convoluted to me. I mean, people complain about the Legion of Superheroes being, too much. And maybe it's because, I stopped reading X-Men in the early 80s. About the time that Chris Claremont introduced Rachel Summers, I felt like he was losing the thread of the plot. And John Romita Jr. was not my favorite artist in the world at all. He basically chased me off the book. And so everything that happened with the X books throughout the mid to late 80s and throughout all of the 90s, I missed all of that. And now it's impossible for me to get into the X-Men and have any idea what's going on. And speaking of the X-Men, we've got this new series here, X-Men Man-Thing. And there was back when I was reading X-Men, there was a Man-Thing crossover in, I forget the issue number. But anyway, I feel like I've read this. Why is it needed? Who's calling for it? Why does it need to be its own new limited series when I read this story 30 years ago? So anyway, that's Marvel. So what on there would you keep and what would you cut? What would you do in regards to Marvel? Moving on next, we have Image Comics. And Image is kind of on par with DC. 44 books in May. I'm ordering 10 of them, or 22.2% of their line. That's good for $35.91 at the retail level, not counting discounts and sales tax. So it's 14.5% of my pull list right now is Image. Coming out on May 5th, we have Deep Beyond number 4, Firepower number 11, and I have added Hey Kids Comics Volume 2, Profits and Loss number 1. Now, the first Hey Kids Comics series I wasn't super happy with because Chaykin kind of mixed in, and I get that it's all fiction, but Chaykin kind of mixed in stories that were based on reality, things that had actually happened in real life in the comic book industry, mix those in with stories that we know are apocryphal, things that didn't really happen. But worse, the thing that confused me even more was that he bounced back and forth in the timeline for no apparent narrative purpose. So I kept getting confused. I'd be like, okay, so this older character that I read about in the last issue is this younger character this issue, is that right? And I would get confused who was who. So maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not that smart. That's a possibility. But it's something I want to add because of what it is, but maybe don't want to add because of how it's been done. May 12th, we have Geiger number 2 and Carmen number 3. Then on May 19th, Radiant Black number 3 and Stray Dogs number 3. And on the 26th, a bunch of books coming out. Bitter Root number 13 is a book that I really enjoyed when it first came out. It was about a family of monster hunters in the Harlem Renaissance, which is an era I knew nothing about and was pretty excited to learn about that. But more recent issues, part of the family is taking a southern swing, and it's all about every single white person is racist, except for the one kind of sycophant cuck that we let tag along. And so it's I'm losing my interest in this rapidly. Also out is a book that I thought this had been canceled. We haven't had a Manifest Destiny issue in a while, but number 43 is solicited for May. Two Moons number 3 is also out on May 26th. And now we'll get to the books that I didn't order. Aquarius, the Book of Myrrh, just did not speak to me. This Made in Korea book felt like it was going to, again, be something that telling me I'm racist. And The Good Asian actually reads a little bit like that too, the solicitation copy, but based on the art and the overall design and the balance of the plot in the solicitation, I was a hair's breadth from putting this on my initial pull list. And probably the only reason I didn't is because by the time I got the Image, they're usually the last ones to release their solicitations. I knew I was way over budget, and so I didn't add it because I knew I wouldn't be able to afford it. And you see all the red dots sprinkled here. I could cut almost any one of these Image books without being too heartbroken. And then This Time Before Time is another new #1 from Image in May. I didn't order that because the plot sounded too much like the series Travelers. If you've seen that on, I think it's on the Sci-Fi Channel, it was a really good show, but the solicitation just sounded like it was going to be, that entirely, more or less, and so it just didn't make the cut. So, who are we going to move on to next? Boom! Let's do Boom. I'm ordering 5 books out of the 21 that they are soliciting in May, 23.8% of their line. $21.95 they will ring me up for, or 8.8% of the pull list. This was a new ad, Eve #1, out on May 5th. And this is kind of a trend in books lately, the new zeitgeist, I guess, if you will. It's these young female characters thrown into a strange new fantasy setting. And but I can't resist the the one-eyed talking teddy bear. I just had to see what that's about. Then also out from Boom, May 19th. The rest of these are just series that I've been ordering that I'm just sort of continuing until the end of their initial runs. These are all limited series, I'm pretty sure. Luna #4. The Many Deaths of Lila Star #2. That's a book by Ram V. Orcs #4. This has been a fun little book, but at $5, it's expensive. I probably won't stick with this one if it comes out again, just because of the price tag. And then May 26th is Spectre Inspectors. That's also too expensive for the content, but because it's a limited series, I'll just go ahead and finish out the limited series. And that's a book I really bought just because of the title. And just, Spectre Inspectors sounded like so much fun, and it's kind of a Scooby-Doo kind of a thing. So, that's my Boom pull. And we will wait for the keynote to get through its graphics, and we'll move on to Dark Horse, where I am ordering just 2 of their 19 books. Dark Horse is a lot of trades and things like that. So 10.5% of their comic book line, $7.96, 3.2% of my pull list. May 5th, the Orville Digressions #1. There's the cover. I'm a little behind on the click. But Star Wars books, things like that. I never got into. I got trained really early on, way back in the 70s and early 80s, that you get invested in one of those licensed property series, and then the next movie comes out, and you find out everything that you've been reading about has just been negated, and it's effectively never happened. Until a Star Wars movie has a giant talking green space bunny, I'm still going to be pissed off. So, but the Orville, those books feel like, and maybe it's because there are some of the actual creators from the show involved, as I understand it, but it doesn't feel so much like, when the next season of the Orville comes out, if and when, it's been forever. It doesn't feel like the books that I have read are going to be, immediately wiped from continuity. They never happen. Then the other book from Dark Horse that I have on my initial pull list is this Rangers of the Divide #1. It's out on May 19th. And it looks like kind of a how to train your dragon with space western horses. I don't know. That's probably going to get cut from my pull list. It just seemed kind of cool. And then one thing I did not add was this House of Lost Horizons. This is set in the Hellboy universe. And maybe if the artist inside was the same as the one who did this cover, I might think about it a little more. This gives off a very Sandman Mystery Theater vibe. But as it is, I just, and this is again because Dark Horse is usually way behind everyone else on getting their solicitations out. By the time I got to Dark Horse, I already knew I was over budget and was going to have to cut things. So this one just didn't make the cut. Unless you come along and tell me that no, that is a book I should add, and suggest something else I should cut instead. So next up is IDW. I'm getting just one of their 18 books, 5.5% of their line, 1.6% of my pull list. And this is issue 2 of Kanto and the City of Giants. It's a limited series. I think it's 4 issues. I don't really know anything about this. Apparently there's been a Kanto series out previously that I never saw. But the first issue solicitation just kind of looked like a fun Wall-E kind of a thing. And so I thought, sure, I'll give it a try. And I don't know, maybe I need to cut that to make some room. And I'll just have to content myself with that first issue that I've already ordered. So that does it for the Premier publishers. Who else do we have for Premier? Just Dynamite, which I didn't order anything from Dynamite. I haven't purchased a Dynamite book in years. Dynamite is basically, as far as I'm concerned, just all about tits and ass variant covers. You know, and whatever contents might be in the book are actually secondary. I mean, who actually reads a Dynamite book? Do you? Are you actually reading anything from Dynamite? Most people, I think, just buy Dynamite to try and score an alternate cover to send directly to CGC. So let's move on then to the independent publishers. Abstract Studios, one of one. I'm getting 100% of their line, 1.6% on my pull list, and that is Terry Moore's most recent book, Serial. It's on issue number 4. I'm a big fan of Terry Moore, so you'll have to work really hard to convince me to drop that particular book from my pull list, but have at it. Tell me why he's no good. I think he's great. Aftershock, and I'm actually getting 4 books from Aftershock, 30.8% of their line, 7.2% of my pull list. So coming out on May 19th, we have Bequest number 3. It's been so long since I ordered issue 1, I actually can't remember why I initially put that on my pull list. Then here is Nuclear Family number 4, which is, as it sounds, about a family suffering through an actual nuclear event. May 26, The Girls of Dimension 13 number 2. I added that to my pull list last month because it just looked like a fun mix of Paper Girls meets Scooby-Doo. But maybe I need to cut it to make room. I don't know. And then Shadow Doctor number 4. This is about the author's grandfather, kind of the true-to-life tale of growing up in the Chicago gangs. And then as far as books from Aftershock I didn't add, I actually can't remember what the hell this book is. I don't have the solicitation in front of me right now as I'm working in Keynote, so I can't remember what that book is. And I can't remember what this book is. This one I just remember the solicitation was like very poorly written. And I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to go for that. But I feel bad. I can't actually remember what either one of those books was. But anyway, they're new releases from Aftershock that didn't make the cut. Ahoy Comics, one book coming out in May, and I'm buying it. And that is because it is my current favorite series right now, The Wrong Earth, Night and Day, number 5 of 6. If you're not familiar with this book, this is it's kind of like, the Dragonfly is the main character, and it's the Dragonfly of what I'll call Earth 1, Bronze Age Batman, and the Dragonfly Man of Earth 2, akin to Golden Age Batman, and they switch Earths. It's just been a fun series by Tom Peyer. So yeah, that's something that, again, you're going to have to work really hard to convince me to drop that one. It's probably my most favorite comic book series out right now. So Antarctic Press, I ordered 2 of their 7 books, and out on May 26, Exciting Comics number 12. And this uses an old Golden Age title and public domain characters to give kind of a spotlight to new and upcoming creators, and I usually throw that onto my pull list whenever I can. And then the other thing I added was this Patriotica United number 1. And now that I think about it, I can't really remember why I added it on my pull list, although I guess if I look at that cover, I guess that might be a clue. So basically, as much as I complain about the Dynamite books, I think that's the only thing that appealed to me about Patriotica. American Mythology. I was going to go ahead and order one of their 9 books being solicited for May, and that was Trog's #1. And the reason was just the solicitation. It's monsters and dinosaurs, and it just seemed like, good fun, the kind of thing I would have enjoyed when I was like 12 years old, during my golden age of comic book reading. But we'll have to see if that makes the cut. It may not. I've only ever ordered a couple of American Mythology books, and every time I do, I feel like maybe I wasted my money. But it's usually because I get like the licensed things like, Three Stooges or whatever, and they read in like 5 minutes. And it's like, well, okay. Archie Comics. Believe it or not, I've got one of the 5 books that they are soliciting for May on my pull list. And that's because it features good old Archie is Pure Heart the Powerful. Archie and Friends Superheroes #1. I believe this is a one-shot. And of course, it's only $2.99, so that makes it an easy book to add onto the pull list. So again, we got to wait for Keynote to do. Probably, I over-rendered this thing. Awa, Artists and Writers Alliance. 2 books I have ordered from them. And this first one, Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal #1. That's a book I'm pretty excited about. You see, no red dot. I don't think that one's going to get cut. Pretty sure I'm going to stick with that one, whatever else I have to cut to make sure this one stays on the list. And it's just the solicitation just sounded like fun. It's this balls to the wall chick going through time robbing stuff. And the art looks like, fun. So I don't know. High concept. Had to try it. And then out on May 19th, Redemption #4. This is a Western book, Western and dinosaurs and kind of a wild, wild West kind of thing. And the first issue of that was fairly decent. So, I'll probably stick with that as well. Don't see me dropping that one again unless enough of you come forward to say, you got to kill that. Phenographics. So they've only got 2 actual comic books. They publish a lot of other more book-like things. But this Red Room #1, even though it's $7, there was something about it that just sort of appealed to me. And maybe it's just because one of my coworkers is really, really into underground comics. And so I just wanted to be able to buy this and rub his nose in it if he didn't think to order this, because it seems like something he would really like. So maybe that's not a good enough reason to spend $7 for the avant-garde, deviant sex comic. Mad Cave Studios, 2 books I have on the initial pull list here of the 5 that they are soliciting. And the first one, now, what do I have to say about this? Beck Star #1 by Joe Corallo. Joe, I know from his appearances on the Comics by Perch YouTube channel, and also his many appearances on Thinking Critical with Wes. And I've grown to really, really like and appreciate his commentary on those 2 channels. I feel like, he's the best friend I've never met. Problem is, this book that he's doing, I swear to you, and Joe, if you're listening, I apologize, but if I didn't know you from those 2 YouTube channels, I never in 100 years would have ordered this book. The solicitation copy, I hope you're a better writer than a solicitation writer, or I hope that maybe some flunky from the company wrote that solicitation and not you. But there was just really nothing that appealed to me about it, and it on top of everything, it just wasn't particularly well written. This cover isn't, fantastically exciting. And so, again, if I did not know Joe Corallo from those 2 YouTube channels, I never, ever, ever would have put this book on my pull list. So, here's hoping for the best when it does arrive. If indeed I do keep it on the list. And then Nottingham. This is kind of you can kind of see there by the cover what it's about. And that's been decent. There's certainly been something there to chew on. in the issue that I've got of that so far. But, maybe I'll have to cut it to make room for some of the other things I want to keep. Now we'll move on to Oni Press. And this Oni here is a bit of an incongruity. Because there's this first book here, Jonah and the Unpossible Monsters. The first issue of this was actually solicited back before COVID and then never came out because of COVID. And I guess, you know how all the publishers, they try and start with the letter A, so they're at the front of the catalog. And I guess now I know why I do that, because I've sort of trained myself that once I get to the B's, there's almost nothing left in the previous catalog to really be interested in. And I tend to overlook the Oni Press solicitations. And that's also in large part because, like Phenographics, like Dark Horse, they're mostly publishing books these days and young adult things, and not a lot of actual comic books. So somehow I missed entirely that Jonah and the Impossible Monsters #1 finally did get resolicited and come out, and apparently in issue 2. So I asked my local retailer, I said, well, I see this third issue is out. Can you get 1 and 2? And he said that yes, that Diamond does have those still available to order. So I went ahead and put it on my pull list. Now, just because Diamond has it available to order, Diamond, that's no guarantee I will actually get Jonah 1 and 2. Or if they do arrive, then I will get them in a condition I'm satisfied with. They may come in damaged and have to be sent back, and then maybe Diamond won't be able to get the book then. So, Diamond, no guarantees here. But anyway, because the retailer said he could get 1 and 2, I went ahead and threw 3 on, because that was something I meant to order years and years ago. And then Rick and Morty. And again, because I haven't been watching the Oni solicitations, I didn't know about this series, or missed it somehow. So Rick and Morty Worlds Apart, #4, with the takeoff on the Captain America Comics #1 cover here. And my retailer said he could still order 1, 2, and 3, so I went ahead and got 4. I'm only recently a convert to Rick and Morty. During my journalism years, I was busy. I didn't watch a lot of TV because I was out covering evening meetings, selectman, planning board, school board, what have you, and then writing overnight to make deadlines, sleeping all day. So, I just did not watch a lot of TV and missed Rick and Morty entirely. It's only since I got out of the journalism thing and into, selling comic books, when I have some time. So, when I'm working all day listing comic books or scanning in covers or grading books, I've got the iPad going, and I've got stuff going on, in the background, at least YouTube channels or different things. And so I only just recently discovered Rick and Morty and binged all 4 seasons. and so because, like the Orville, this is something that I feel like, I can read this, and because of the episodic nature of the show, whenever season 5 comes out, I presume, I hope that, these things that I've read and invested time in aren't going to be just absolutely negated by whatever happens next. And of course, with Rick and Morty, anything can happen next, and everything happened because of the nature of time and space. So, I wonder if you're still watching. Oh well, this amuses me anyway. Scout Comics. I think this is last up. Scout Comics. 3 of 11 books I am getting, and this is like only the second month I've ever ordered any Scout books, and it seems like they're all one-shots, because nothing I ordered last month is solicited again this month. But anyway, out on May 19th is this Misadventure #1, and that just looked like fun, I figured, what the hell. $5 though, it better be a big-ass barrel of fun, so that might be something that doesn't make the cut just because of the price. And then this Redshift 1, this is kind of like a locked room murder mystery thing, only the locked room is the planet Mars. So it seemed interesting. I put it on the pull list. And then this book, Cherry Blackbird #1, the solicitation about, this chick who sold her soul to become a great rock and roll player, and now that bill has come due, seemed very intriguing, although that is kind of a very common plot, isn't it? But just the way it was written seemed compelling to me. The art seems very nice. But here's the thing I found out after I got my pull list together, this initial pass of the pull list. The guy who does this book actually lives here in Maine, maybe only about 30, 40 minutes away from the comic book store where I get my books. And if you don't know, if you haven't seen my other videos, the company that I work for owns the comic book store where I get my books. I don't work in the store itself, but one of my coworkers that I list books with online, I do the grading. He does most of the listing. We were talking about this book, and I put it on my pull list, and he mentioned that the guy's from here in Maine, and that this book has already been out. Like, he actually went out to the shelf and grabbed a copy from the local author's shelf, and so I think this Scout book is a reprint. Because that other book is, I don't know if it's self-published or from a company that's even smaller than Scout, but it was kind of a graphic-y novel sized, like 100 pages or something like that. And the solicitation on this reads like an introduction. So I think, and if you know Scout Comics better than I do, is a lot of what they publish things that were published someplace else previously, or maybe a crowd-funded book, or something like that they are now bringing to a wider, more mass consumer audience. I don't know. But again, where this is only $3.99, it's a regular-sized comic book, so I'm guessing this is reprinting in serialized form that other book. But there was nothing about the solicitation that led me to believe that this was something that had already seen print somewhere else. But the solicitation also did not read like what it was introducing had ever appeared anywhere else in previous stories. So I'm a little confused, but I am excited to get that book and to see it, and I will probably keep it on the list just because it is a local creator. So I guess that's it. That's the end. I hope you made it through that far. If you did, please do comment. Let me know down below, which books would you cut out of all of that you saw. What would you vote off the island? What books would you just dispense with in order to get under budget? And again, I need to get under, about 15 books I've got to cut in order to get to that $120, $25, $30 a week on the post-discount, post-sales tax. So let me know what you would cut. Let me know if there's anything you think I should add that we didn't talk about at all here, and what I'll need to cut to replace that. But anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you would do. And until next time, goodbye, good luck, and please be good to each other.